Engineer, EWPW guest. Recording is started. All right. Gosh, it's working. Let's start
We
in
need
a
to recruit
minute.
some members.
There you go. Recording has started. All right, so we will start our meeting. I guess I should probably stay close by.
I can do this if you want. I mean, there's nothing to do here anymore, I think. So I'll do my minutes.
Okay.
Run the music. I'll think about that.
So, the meeting will start and it is 6:04,
Call to order.
or maybe it's different.
6:04.
Well, this is great.
Okay, fine.
Great. 4.
And the information that you need to review.
We're putting everybody's names down first. Barry.
So, it's minutes. Agenda.
Okay.
Much as excuse. So we'll look over the minutes from July. Again, we canceled the August meeting. Just so that it's documented that it was canceled. So many of the items that were on this, or in these minutes, have follow-ups for today.
I move that we approve the minutes from July 26, 2022.
I'll second it.
And any objections?
No.
Then it's by unanimous unless there's any comment. Okay, by unanimous consent, they were approved. Great, thank you. So, updates. We're gonna start with seemingly the easiest one, which is Green Energy Times. And I want to say thank you, Gary.
I've never been a paper boy in my life, but now I know what it's all about. Jeez.
Nor have I.
How was it?
Well, let's see, there were more stacks than quoted. Which wasn't a big deal.
Okay.
Oh,
Where'd you deliver? Let's get a little list.
let's see, where did I deliver?
You went to the Hanover Co-op?
I did both Hanover Co-ops, the Lebanon Co-op. I did the Etna store, the Etna Library. I did Jake's, I did George's.
Please.
I did Cane and Pizza. I never did get to Cane and Hardware. I don't know if you did or not. I did the Enfield House of Pizza.
Funny, I forgot the hardware.
There's a lot of stops, but for me, a lot of them were easy because it's on my route home.
Yeah.
I felt a little weird going in. I mean, when I'm trying to think, it was the Hanover Co-op. One of the two had a ton of copies already, so somebody had delivered to them.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think the Hanover Sustainability Group probably gets a stack and
Yeah.
maybe they do that.
And I did the Hanover Town office.
I don't think.
I didn't do it.
Oh, huh.
I didn't do it in the front of the office. I just left them in the back because the front was locked.
Right.
So I replenished some of them and I missed the Canaan Hardware, so I will go back there.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
Yep.
Now, somebody could drop a few off at the Revision Energy.
Oh, that's right. I've got some in my car.
Okay. Or yes.
And then it all starts again, what, in January?
Before
I
that.
was gonna say, they have what, quarterly?
Yeah.
What is it? More than-
I mean, a lot of places,
It's every other month.
I did, yeah, a lot of places, they sort of get covered up.
Right. So that's been part of my task now is to kind of replenish. So Molly's is another place. And I did go to the Etna post office because you mentioned.
Yeah, I missed that.
That was a surprising way to get to it.
Did you stop at the Etna store?
No,
Oh, you should.
Is it good? I
Oh,
want
it's
to go there.
gorgeous.
Yeah, I want to go in there. Haven't
Well,
been there yet.
It was gorgeous to the tune of $1.2 million. Gorgeous.
oh,
Well, hopefully they'll make it back somehow.
Between COVID and the lumber prices really drove the renovation through the roof. But it's just wonderful inside.
I'll go in.
So,
So-
yeah, so do we have a plan that? this
Well,
is a-
I
a
think
normal
we're going to
delivery?
continue. Gary
Oh, I
agreed
did the
that
town hall too, so,
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
and I did here.
And I did go to the Canaan, library.
Yeah.
So the thing is that initially we were going to do just a few items. You know, in Enfield and then through Gary's encouragement. So now I'm gonna be picking them up and, Gary and I just agreed that we would distribute.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like I said, for me, most of the deliveries are easy because it's on my route home, and I just,
Which is perfect.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful. So actually, this is great because it's a wider distribution. This is an area that hasn't been covered, so good for us.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Hey, I enjoy reading. I mean, it's a great education.
It
It
is.
is.
Generally, the articles go in some depth and you can
Yeah.
really, learn something.
so great. So good, thanks. So that will continue until we decide not to.
Yeah,
All right, so next agenda item, the Municipal Facilities Advisory Committee. I
Yeah.
believe you're part of that.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's called the let me just write this down, MFAC, Municipal Facilities Advisory Committee.
Committee, yeah.
So we just came from a meeting, as Gary has, mentioned, and you provided this document,
Oh my
which a
God.
number of us actually really looked at.
oh my God,
Some,
I'm in shock.
But just to say, like the layout here is totally different than what we're probably gonna do. And the reason being that the fire chief, the next steps today was the first meeting with Negley and Chase, who is the group that we chose.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I looked them over and that was my pick.
They, in my perspective, when they did their presentation and interviews, very much top of mind was energy efficiency, understood the net zero thing, could spew back to us some things that they were doing, for instance, blower door testing and trying to meet code, not code, but meet different.
I think meeting code is the
No,
last
it's not
thing on
code, yeah,
on
I didn't
mind.
mean to say that.
I know, but it should be the last thing on our mind is to meet code.
Yeah.
We should be exceeding code
Yeah.
on our own.
Well, for instance, one of the things that one of the project manager brought up fairly early in our interview with them, when we said, big garage doors for large vehicles, fire, ambulance, et cetera, is they said, yeah, there has been some good changes to these kinds of doors. They are absolutely the worst. That's where you lose all your heat.
Right, that's why,
So-
that's why I suggested you bifolds, because I mean, that's where
Yeah.
the progressive departments are going.
So she had some very specific doors that she's gonna show us and give us information about that they've used in some other places.
I mean, the thing with bifold doors is if your wall is R40, you can make the door R40.
When you say bifold, I don't know what that means.
Well, I mean,
Do
if you
they
look,
fold this way?
if you look at a typical garage door, they go
Yeah.
up and roll up,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Or they,
Yeah,
take up space. Bifold doors
up and down.
are either a horizontal bifold door that actually opens out like that and lifts up.
Oh.
So that when
Oh,
the
it's
door,
less. So
when the
it's
door is
closed.
open, it's almost like an awning out over the,
Yeah, I see what you mean.
and a lot of them are going with vertical bifolds, which fold
That
back
way.
this way.
Hmm.
And the reasoning that a lot of fire departments are doing that is because it's a great visual as to when the door is really open.
Yeah.
Versus an overhead door where as soon as it cleans your windshield, you're
You're
headed,
trying to go
and
and
then
you're
the
not
ladder
clear.
takes off the door.
Right,
But yeah,
so
I
that's
mean,
good.
the doors are the worst, and it takes up 70% of the area of that wall.
So again, Kim was at the meeting, so why don't you let her
We're starting to work with Nigley and Chase, and I'm really glad we picked them. Today was, and the first few meetings will be really with fire and police chiefs, and their staff to get the requirements of the layouts and
Right.
requirements of special rooms, yeah, things like that. So, and then, right, and then, since, Bread Loaf had done a layout, and actually, one of the good things about Nigley and Chase was when they came to us with their proposal, it said, this is what we like about the current one, this is what we think could be done better.
Yeah.
Things like that. So that was really good. So we basically told them today, you have a blank slate. There's stuff that we need, regulatory stuff, fire safety stuff, and then there was, other items around the room that were being discussed, like the public spaces versus the secure spaces, and
Right.
how can the public spaces be used for multiple things, and how can, I really liked, Police Chief Holland's, description of this being very welcoming to the community.
Right.
To the point of even, can we pull out fire trucks at some point and have big open space for barbecue for the community,
Right.
or something like that. And how can we make sure that the kitchen isn't too far away from that, so we could cook and bring stuff, so it was a good discussion, both, in that regard. We started just barely a few things about energy efficiency. They are going to be modeling it in terms of
Yeah.
how much energy we use.
Yeah.
And,
Well, like I said, you need a target to shoot for.
they have quite a few targets. So anyway, I'll keep you updated on that. I had noticed in your list, solar and, storage. So we did bring up solar, or they did bring up solar, and then we got to talk about it a bit. And I highly recommended they put as little as possible on the roof, so we can at least be pretending that's going to be all solar. And the, Negley guy, Andrew, said, well, it's really not gonna be that much compared to how much the building's gonna use. And I said, absolutely, I understand. If we're at 10%, that would be great. But we want the building to be as energy efficient, and it will probably be all electric, mostly all electric. So it's gonna use a lot of energy, and what we put on the roof is not gonna be anywhere near. But I said, but we should absolutely still consider that. We want it on the roof because if at some point this is going to be our most resilient building, and we would want to add storage to that and have a solar storage situation that could, very long outage, continue to
Right.
replenish itself,
Right.
et cetera. Knowing that we already are talking about a generator, that's already in the plans because it needs to be there from day one. I'm not arguing that yet, because we can't argue it until we know what the energy use is. So a generator, they expect to run the whole building. Solar and storage, they won't expect to run the whole building. So my point is going to be to try to get them towards the appreciating the storage and as much solar and storage as makes sense, such that the generator is another level back up. It's not the first level back up.
And I will discuss that with you at length.
You can, but this is my business,
Oh,
right?
I understand,
Okay, so I'm happy to
I understand
discuss
it's your
it.
business. And, a lot of it is what you want to commit to.
No, it's
I mean-
money. Come on, Gary, it is money.
Okay, so let's talk money.
Okay, so I will tell you the one thing that we are committing to, and it's the only thing we're committing to, is that we've asked them to get as close as possible to net zero without going over the budget. So
Okay,
guess what? That's what
So-
we're gonna get.
so as a comparison,
Yes,
we've got a price of $7.2 million for this building.
it's actually not that much, but yes,
Well, anyway,
there's a number like that.
that number was,
There's a number out there.
okay, that number's out there.
That includes the insides too.
Okay.
So that's why it's much
Okay.
bigger than,
Okay.
Yeah.
And as a comparison, a market basket is 14
14 million, yeah,
Yeah.
right, so we're not.
for 4 times the space.
Oh, but it's totally different
I mean-
space. I don't know how you even compare those two. How can you compare what we need to do in a fire safety building with a grocery store,
But
warehouse like?
You don't think HVAC for a grocery store, kitchens?
Oh, they're way more, probably.
Yeah,
So that's, but what.
So what I'm
why are you
saying is,
comparing?
is we should have plenty of headroom.
Compared to, but what do you, headroom, I mean, like, what are you saying about
On
the,
a construction cost per square foot.
oh, you know what the construction cost of a market basket is? Is that what
It's
you're
$14 million for
Oh, $14 million.
the whole package.
Yeah, I don't know how to compare that, so, okay,
But anyway, I just think we, we can do it.
good.
Great, thank you. So again,
Yep.
that meets, every other week?
Yes, although now that we're into the sort of the design phase where we want them to iterate on the layout and things like that, it will probably, the subset will meet more often. But probably the big group will meet, every other week, possibly once a month.
So my short argument for the batteries
Okay,
is that now your building is a UPS versus having UPSs on everything in the building.
yes, that's good for all the computer type stuff.
Right.
No, I agree. I think that's a good one. Thank you. I think that's a good one. I'll use it.
And
I will use it.
if this thing is net zero,
I don't-
the electrical load should not be much at all. I mean, obviously the police are
I
the
think
high
it's,
energy.
yeah, it's the communications, right? That's important to keep.
Right, right.
And that's not gonna be too
But
heavy.
yeah, but it's not like, most lighting is gonna be off, except in the police section.
Okay, so I'm gonna write that Gary suggested that we talk about, storage batteries. As.
I mean, the problem with the generator is it's very attractive up front
large. Yeah. I know.
because it's cheap.
Yes, they're gonna get one. See, the problem is they've got one lined up. And so it's like, okay, happy to help you not use it.
But as soon as you commit to that, now you've got an ongoing maintenance expense every year.
Okay, moving on.
Yes. let's
Thank
move
you.
on. Okay.
All right, the next agenda item is community power. There are several updates. And that was part of what I was reading before I got here too. There was, something that was sent out on the 23rd, and it has, risk management committee, board actions, shared service
Oh, was
vendors.
that the one that Henry wrote? Was the summary, or Lisa Sweet? wrote?
Yes.
It was a summary of like where we are.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Should we attach it?
Yeah,
Or do you
we
want me to-
could, probably, it
Yeah,
would
that's a
probably
good
be
idea.
smarter
Okay.
to attach it because, I can't read it all. Well, I'll give you,
Yeah. give
I'll
us
read a couple of the highlights. One, it says, request for proposal for comprehensive services and credit support is shaping up to be a big success. There are two companies that are in negotiate, the coalition are in negotiations with, to do billing, and the other is, risk management. Another is, actually, I guess it's three companies. And with another company to provide, financial and banking services. And it says CPC&H continues to benefit from legal services and startup consulting work. From the legal services, Henry Herden and Samuel Golding of Community Choice Partners. Regulation happenings that did occur is that the Public Utilities Commission did, issue its rules for community power. And then there was an additional meeting on September 15th, where the Joint Legislative Committee on Administrative Rules met. The PUC agreed to rules, but then it has to go to another committee for that committee to approve that the rules are sanctioned or okayed or authorized. That step happened on September 15th. And the information I have here says that the PUC has a meeting scheduled for yesterday, Monday the 26th, to adopt these rules. So things are moving along.
Good.
It took a long time for all of this to happen, but what this means for us in particular is that, Kim and I went to the select board meeting in early September, September 6th, I believe, and presented them a change to the joint powers agreement, which they had signed a year before, and to update our plan and our energy aggregation plan. Or I guess it's called electric aggregation plan. They approved both of those easily. And so now what has happened is our plan has been submitted to the Public Utilities Commission and to several other people, including each of the utilities that Enfield is served by. And what that means, the Public Utilities has 60 days to approve our plan. Again, we used a template that has been used through with the other members of the coalition. We don't anticipate much of an issue from the PUC about that, but they have 60 days to respond. So we don't know. It could be that they'll authorize it soon, or they'll wait the whole 60 days. Sending the information or the request, rather not the request, but the information to the utilities lets them know that our next step, once we are approved by the PUC, is we ask the utilities specifically for data. And that's again aggregated data. And then they have a timeline in which they need to respond. So we're moving along. The other thing that's on here is the member operations and engagement. They mention in here, there are a couple of things in here. One is that the select boards of Canterbury and Wilmot have both voted to join CPC&H by executing the joint powers agreement. So that means we now have 21 members plus communities plus the county. So we have 22
Cheshire
members, which
Nice.
is pretty amazing.
It is pretty amazing.
The,
Also, we answered a
ahead.
couple of questions on the listserv about
yes,
electric prices going up quickly, and can't we somehow address it faster, which we would all like to do. Because those prices hit us all, I think,
It's only gone to 29.6.
it's crazy
Going
how
up.
high the electric rates have gone, and
I begrudgingly turned on my heat last Friday.
is it electric? Heat
And
pump?
immediately, it's not a heat pump, it's a 24 kilowatt resistance heater.
Why don't you have heat pumps in an electric vehicle? All of your work in the world, and you
It's
don't have
coming.
heat pumps, and
It's
you don't have
coming.
an electric vehicle.
It's coming. I've gotten quotes for my solar.
Do you have a net zero house?
I have a house that they came up to do the energy audit on.
Mhm.
And I never got a report from them. All I got from the guy was, how the hell did you get qualified to do this? This is too tight. So
We didn't get a blower door or
he
anything.
did a blower door test, but he never told me the results
Oh, man.
because it was that good.
Huh. Good, well, that's good.
So yes, I'm working on it, Kim.
Yes.
okay, well, good.
As you know, it doesn't come overnight.
We know that.
I
Trust-
built my house late in life.
There are several things on this report that we received from the members operation, and that is that Lebanon's community power aggregation, Lebanon's electric aggregation plan was accepted and approved by the PUC the end of August 30th. And that was the very first program in the state to be okayed. And everybody else is at different stages, just like us.
Although we're way ahead of most.
Yeah, we are. However, the thing is, the next steps for us and for everybody will be, we're going to start, rather, the whole coalition is starting to work on cost and what the rates will be. And that's gonna be a challenge. They've also put out a, request, they're trying to hire, a CEO. So when it comes to the rates, what we're gonna have to do, rather, what is expected is we will be going to, the select board for them to approve. Again, the goal is to be equal to or better than the existing utilities. Given that the utilities right now are high, I mean, we're gonna be up against the same things that the utilities are up against. So we'll see what happens. But we'll be going to the select board again for approval once we've come up with our configuration of options for the community. The next step, for us will be an educational thing. I mean, so the fact that energy costs are high, it raised a couple of questions on the listserv. Kim answered some, I answered something. So people are obviously aware.
Yeah.
But we're gonna need to figure out a plan, a real concrete plan on how to educate the public on our specific plan on what the next steps are.
Well, I mean, we need to educate the public on the fact that New Hampshire has committed to natural gas as their main choice of generation.
But we're not gonna be educating the people on that.
I mean, we could say that,
Right.
it's true, but then moving on,
Yeah.
this is how we're gonna get around it and, you know,
Right.
how we're gonna do better.
Right.
So that's what I put down here was next steps discussion.
Good.
Um,
The education piece, like what can we do? for the
right,
committee?
I mean, there are a lot of like little steps that we can start doing. But that's what I wanted to have a conversation about. I think anything we can put into the town newsletter is helpful. Anything that we can put on the listserv is helpful. But it needs to be thought out in terms of what it is, so that we're,
You know what, I think if we, within your group, the, member ops committee, or maybe even Henry directly, might jump at the idea of snippets of educational information as opposed to like brochures.
right,
Because snippets, we can all put in our town, every town has some way of communicating that you don't want to be big, long, boring text, but, snippets of ideas.
I mean,
Kind of like what you did in the last couple of, newsletters that are snippets of how to save energy or whatever, but this is a snippet of what CPCNH is doing.
I mean, one of the things we might want to include in the newsletter is that the Green Energy Times is now available at the
Yes.
library, the town office, blah, blah, blah.
right.
And it offers education on energy every quarter.
Yep.
Every 2 months. It's every 2 months.
Okay, good.
Really, I thought it was.
Once every quarter, it's every 2 months.
No, it's every 2 months.
Okay.
You stress me, it's like,
Okay, so maybe
Well,
this-
if we get it out every quarter, that'd be good.
Yeah.
bingo.
So yeah, I mean, I think we just mentioned in the newsletter that that's a great resource.
Yeah.
And here
I
are some
agree.
places.
Because one thing I've noticed on the listserv is everybody, it's like, ready, fire, aim, right?
I know,
Specific, I won't even bring up the subjects, but you can bring up any subject matter and explain everything. And people don't bother to listen or anything, and now they're up on tangents.
Yeah,
It's like,
it's really pretty. That's why
it's the
having,
Facebook effect.
well, that's why having small bits of information.
I like it.
Yep.
It's good for me too. I only like small bits of time.
Yeah,
So maybe we collect a few small bits. One good small bit is saying something about the Green Energy Times, and then the fact that we're gonna try to distribute it, and here are some places you could look for it. And another snippet might be, grab a little bit from this summary of where CPCNH is. Just a little bit and say, the coalition that's working on buying power for the town of Enfield at some point, has selected its vendors for managing the wholesale purchase of energy. You know, just something like
Right.
that.
right.
And is moving forward and still hoping, expecting whatever, to be able to buy energy in the April, in the spring of 2020, just that much.
Yeah.
And then the same snippets we can put out on the listserv, in even a different little order, or it doesn't matter, but it's two different places where we know.
I mean,
People
I may be wrong, but I thought that, I don't think it was in this latest edition of Green Energy Times, but I think they had an article about community power in the Green Energy
They
Times.
probably did, because she's gonna be they're gonna be good proponents of
Right.
that.
Right,
I don't remember. That's interesting.
I'll have to look.
I'm,
There have been, and sometimes I catch these, there was, Cliff Bilo was interviewed on NPR
Mhm.
about community power just last Friday or
Yep.
something.
Yep.
When I see, and there was something in the newspaper about community power, and Henry was quoted in it,
Right.
something in Valley News. So I guess when we see those things, probably I'll try to remember to do this.
That's a good
Putting a
point,
snippet
yeah.
out on the listserv that says, hey, if you didn't see it, there was an article in the Valley News.
Yep.
I did one time when I wanted to make sure people knew Enfield is doing this too, and so I think it's good
Yeah.
to
Yep.
say that. It's not just other people in the Upper Valley, it's us.
yeah, I think that's it is, because I want people to become comfortable.
Yeah, thinking that
familiar.
we're part of this, and
Yeah.
when they see it in the newspaper, maybe they'll ask us instead of waiting for us to post it. Yes, that's us, we're gonna do this.
Yeah, and
Anything that we can do to raise our profile.
Yeah, yep, that's right.
which leads into, I don't know exactly the status, this is a little bit of a side thing, but, the master plan, group took off the summer and they're starting to meet again. And at some point, they're gonna be asking the energy committee, there's gonna be a focus on energy.
Yay.
Great.
Um,
I get frustrated, but yeah, you all know. I get
Okay, so the
frustrated.
point is,
Is that-
we're gonna need to figure out how to get input.
Yeah, I'd like us to somehow get to the point where we're asked for input in the beginning of a process rather than the end of the process.
Okay,
Well,
let's
we are
just be
where we
happy.
are
Yeah.
now.
No, I understand that. I understand that.
So I guess that's what I'm just trying to throw out, is that we have a lot of things that we're gonna be engaged
Right.
with in the community, and so we need to be thinking about how we're gonna do it and who's gonna be doing it. Because we're gonna need more people we need more input when we start doing any kind of a town-wide thing.
Yeah.
For the master plan. And that might be little topical groups or something, I'm not quite sure.
Hmm,
Um,
okay.
but I want us to start thinking about it, because I've mentioned it a few times. I want us to be thinking about who can we engage.
Right.
But community power, once this starts rolling, we're gonna be sending out postcards to every person. Sorry. Every person in the community, because they're gonna be, most people in the town will be automatically opted in.
Mhm.
they will have to choose to opt out.
Mhm.
And the few people who have already chosen New Hampshire Electrical Co-op, they'll have to choose to come in.
Mhm.
But we need to, I mean, so this is gonna require a lot of work.
Wait,
from
New
us.
Hampshire Electric Co-op is gonna choose to opt in? The default people will still be automatically opted.
I keep getting that confused and I apologize. They're fine.
Yeah, okay, I thought so.
You know what it is? It's that North American.
Yes, that's a
and
popular
and
one.
That's
North American
why,
Energy or
for some
something.
reason,
Yeah.
I keep interchanging them.
Okay.
My error.
Phew, that's okay. I didn't write it down,
Good.
because I can't keep up.
So, anyway, that's gonna require a bunch of work. Any other comments, ideas? And you did give me some interesting suggestions, because we do have a members meeting on October 11th, and I will bring that comment question.
Yeah, because I think it would be great if CPCNH generated some snippets. So
Yeah,
I'd call them
agreed,
snippets, but you can
because-
call them whatever.
Everybody's gonna be needing to do this.
Right, and some towns might gather them all and make a brochure, but I think in our case, and maybe many other cases, towns would like to use them in small bites.
And I did, speaking of, never mind, moving on. Okay, DPW Solar, Charlie said he was not sure he'd be on tonight. He sent an email to everybody. I'll read the email and I've got the chart. If you wanna look at the chart.
I got it on my phone.
Okay, fine. Okay, good morning all. I'm not sure if I'll be able to attend the meeting this evening, so I'm sending you some information in advance. At long last, Liberty Utility has finally got the bill straight with the pump station at Lovejoy Brook. The credit from the solar generation at DPW is being applied to that bill. The highest bill since June, the start of our solar year, has been $149.66, which before the solar credit had been over $2,000.
199, I just want to write that number down.
149
49.
and 66 cents.
That's good.
Solar generation at DPW has not been great for the month of September because of the weather. A graph for the production is attached. Thank you, Charlie Clark, for your consistent and persistence with this project.
Hmm,
Thank you, thank you.
So I noticed there was a blurb in the minutes that they want to expand the salt shed.
ooh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, they want to expand the salt shed because they've been storing equipment at the Shed Street building, which, hey, we're supposed to have sold that 20 years ago. So they want to extend the roof on the salt shed and store under that, and then that gives the opportunity to increase the solar panels.
And I think I would like to suggest that Enfield doesn't have too many big open pieces of land for a good sized solar array that could actually offset a significant part of our municipal.
Mhm.
And rather than picking another roof, let's find, I think the ground area there is huge. Like, there's a lot of space there, and at the DPW, our lot there is big and pretty open. At the DPW.
Here,
Yeah, right, we're here. Wait a minute, I forgot where we are.
okay.
Out there, where we store a lot of sand and stuff.
And what's the price premium?
It's not.
I mean, no, but what is the price premium if you're doing a ground mount?
Right, it's not a big.
From
price.
going from ground mount to 8 feet above ground mount?
Oh, you can't go 8 feet above ground mount. Too much, the difference there is there's too much wind
Wind load.
force.
Well, I mean, you
against
can, it
them.
just, it increases the price.
That's a big one. Whereas like the difference between a roof and a ground mount, when you're at a pretty good size array,
Mhm.
the ground mount can be less expensive. But as soon as you do anything that requires engineering.
Right.
And re-engineering the structural aspects.
Right.
That's gonna blow it out of the park in terms of the price. So that's probably not worth it. But why? Why bother?
Well, because then you can still use the land underneath it.
Uh,
I mean, it's just like a lot of farms are starting to do that. They're starting to raise
Yeah.
it up so they can basically raise crops under the solar panels.
yeah.
And
We're gonna keep our eye on that one. It's kind of like doing carports. They're really expensive.
Okay, no, I realize it adds an expense, but
For instance, carports are at least $6 a watt, whereas on your roof or whatever is $3.50. You know, it's not, actually, it's probably closer to 7. It's probably double. So, that's just a carport. It's not the same as just raising it, so.
yeah,
I mean, once you've done the engineering, maybe if it's big enough array, it might be worth
yeah, you design the first one, and then the next
Right.
one's.
the
cheap.
thing, right?
So what's your source on that?
It was in the minutes to, I don't know if it's a select board meeting or I was just reading through them the other night. Because there's been a little brouhaha because nobody knew that they were storing stuff at the Shed Street station, at the Shed Street, building.
Okay. So select board meeting.
I believe that's what it was.
What's the well? I need to go back for a second to get this in the minutes. The DPW solar, Charlie sent information about solar rate. Liberty bills are now correct in that the excess solar credits are now showing up on the bills.
Lovejoy Brook.
Lovejoy Brook, okay.
Okay, backing up, it says Liberty Utilities has finally got the bill straight with the pump station.
At Lovejoy Brook, or is it?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah, it was complicated. I wasn't quite sure what. But he's saying it's straightened out. That's
Great.
good. The next thing is the solar tax exemption. Which kind of got brought up a couple of meetings ago, when our town manager was here. We had a more lengthy conversation about this. At that time, Martha was charged with researching it. She did some work on that, and then we forwarded that on to Lee Oxenham, who was a state representative who was part of the Science, Technology, and Innovation Committee and the House of Representatives. And there was a whole lot of confusion about this, and it seems that the actual RSA is being misinterpreted by tax assessors. And this is a problem. And there's an effort to try to clarify. I'm not quite sure whether it's going to be with the tax assessors or if there's this concern about having to go to each town to have them reauthorize the new wording. Because there seems to be some concern that when you bring things back, sometimes it's like, well, we've already given so many credits to people with solar, we'll vote this down. So we don't know.
Yeah.
However, given our select board, it seems like, I don't know, but it's a,
I think
It's a
we'd be
problem.
okay in that if we put it on our warrant, we'd probably pass it. You know, with just a little bit of discussion if people wanted to have a public meeting or something on it. But I think, yeah, the concern is other towns. It might come up and people say, oh, I'm fed up with solar at this point. I don't want to hear anything else, and they don't vote for it. And it really is just a readoption of something that we voted for in the past 10 years ago, like at least 10 years ago. So it shouldn't be a problem, but for some towns it might. So she's working on trying to figure out how towns should not have to readopt it.
right.
And the assessors, the tax assessors are the ones who are interpreting it and making up their own rules. So hopefully,
Which
And-
just came to my house today.
the tax assessors.
Yes.
So that has to do with the fact that the owner of our solar array was taxed
And he hadn't been
and he hadn't been.
for the first year or whatever, and then he did get taxed, something like that.
Well, so
Yeah.
that's how this all came out.
And Ed is working on it too. He's very much in favor of getting the waiver repassed if that's what we have to do.
So that's okay. So that's where we are. All right, the Inflation Reduction Act. There are a couple of things. One, Clean Energy New Hampshire is starting to put on monthly webinars. They had one today on the very first one, and it was about electric vehicles. And they're having one October 20th, and it'll be on solar. So again, what they're doing is today, what they had was someone from the Sierra Club, National Sierra Club. They also had someone from National Automobile Association talking about the specifics of this act and what it would mean. And I attended that, and it was pretty exciting.
Cool.
I'll just give you, I mean, there are a whole bunch of. So essentially, this kind of blew my mind when I heard it again. It was like $369 billion to advance clean energy and reduce methane emissions.
Cool.
That's a lot of money.
Almost as much as Ukraine got.
Harry,
That's a lot of money.
it's a lot of money. So apparently these EV credits will be available until 2032.
Yep.
And again, the focus is on energy independence. And the federal is theoretically supplementing what the state does. However, in
Our
New
state doesn't
Hampshire,
do
our
anything.
state doesn't do
Yeah.
anything, which is unfortunate.
Yep.
So what was talked about today, just one thing was that apparently 2/3 of the vehicles in New Hampshire are used. Anyway, that was just a little bit of.
Yeah, the
video.
average life is 15 years.
Is it 15 or is it 10?
Oh, it's-
Average
Oh, it's 15.
in New Hampshire?
Yeah. Well, I think that's nationwide.
So again, some of the requirements for this the previous information before the signing of this on August 16th was dependent on the battery size, whether it was plug-in, and the manufacturer caps, which I think most of us are aware of. Each manufacturer, once they reached, I think it was 200,000,
Right.
then the tax credit for the consumer disappeared.
I mean, that was the old.
Yeah, that's the old one.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying. This is before that.
Right.
But the person must have a tax liability to collect that.
Yeah, that
tax
year,
credit.
you can't even extend it. That was the one, that was what was existing. You couldn't extend it over years and it was only.
Right. So now, okay, the final assembly of the vehicle has to be in the US. There's also a limit on the critical minerals
Right, batteries.
that are created for the battery, and it has to be with certain countries,
Yep, not China.
apparently not China. And the customer credits, this is a little confusing to me, but people can benefit from this. Again, this is electric vehicle purchasing. There's, for a single person, it's 150,000. For a couple, it's 225,000. And I guess for a family, it's 300,000.
They've also got upper limits on the vehicle price also, right?
Right, the MSRP price, is up to 80,000 capped. And I think, I have 55 for something, I don't remember. But so the new thing will be, as of next year, January 1, the dealership it's gonna be totally different. It's not gonna be a tax credit, it's gonna be I guess the phrase is cash on the hood.
Yeah.
So that will be a totally different thing, but apparently it's still, you must have taxable income. So that'll be an interesting thing.
And right now, there's not a whole lot of cars that even qualify.
Yeah, it's gonna take a couple of years for the cars to qualify.
Well, but
Right now, I think
apparently
Tesla's
Tesla and
Yeah,
General
Tesla.
Motors can qualify.
I don't, okay, that's good. Is there a different price, a different incentive if they meet one assembly in the US, but not the
I
second?
think it has to be both.
Yeah, okay. Cause I thought that maybe GM had some issues, but they're saying GM
I
is
don't know.
qualified. Oh, they didn't tell you which car?
They
you can
said
today?
that,
Okay.
this would benefit General Motors and Tesla.
Okay, so you must have taxable income. Well, is that because they have to be able to qualify you at your income level? So if a family makes over 250, you said, they're not gonna get an incentive anyway.
Well, it's 300,000 actually.
Oh, okay. I said 250.
Well, it's 225, I think, for cup. I have 3 different categories.
Okay, so
I-
you don't have to write them all down here, but actually that could be a good newsletter thing if you wanted to summarize this.
Right.
So in theory, at least it's gonna help EV sales.
Yeah, it should.
Right. The thing about the used, which is interesting, again, it will be a $4,000 credit. And it's only available for one time with the used vehicle.
Okay, the second time it's sold, not the third or fourth.
Correct.
And does it have to go through a dealership to get that?
I-
Like, how would you
it's-
get it if you did a private
It's
sale?
unclear.
Yeah, but you.
Well,
probably
right,
couldn't.
you couldn't.
You probably couldn't.
It's
Yeah,
the
okay.
dealership that's gonna be dealing with a lot of this stuff. Um,
This one was a little bit discouraging, the EV side, because I thought it was confusing. And it's gonna be harder to get more vehicles that will qualify in the short term. In the
Right.
longer term, hopefully it won't be a problem,
right.
but it is a little bit harder right now, actually, I think.
And of course, the big thing is there is just a plethora of misinformation out there
Yeah.
about electric vehicles. It's
Yeah.
just incredible.
It is hard. It's a little bit hard, I
I
think.
can't
But,
tell-
but in this case, the manufacturer is going to have to tell you and put it on the sticker price. You
Yeah.
know, this is minus $7,000 if you qualify. And then they have to do some level of income qualification and then take the money off. So it's not going to be a check given back to the homeowner, the vehicle owner.
No, they'll take the money out the price.
Right.
So it's done through the manufacturer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that part's good because that part will
Yeah.
make it easier. The manufacturer can say to the person sitting right there, you know, this is what it means to you.
I'm sure when you fill your taxes out, you're still gonna have to fill out the,
Well, yes, because the dealership is gonna be the one that's gonna be having to
right.
Yeah.
do a lot of this stuff,
Right.
which is gonna be a burden on them.
Yep.
So it's good news anyway.
So on the other aspect of this was apparently the Postal Service has committed to have 35% of their fleet
Okay, that's better than
into
nothing, but yeah,
EV.
good. It's the perfect fleet to be 100%.
Yeah,
I
you
know.
couldn't,
I totally
you couldn't
agree.
ask for a better fleet.
Yeah,
One
yeah.
shift,
Yep,
same
Yep.
place.
and then charge it at night or
Well,
whatever.
and the average mail delivery route is 40 miles. That's it.
Perfect, yes, it's
It's-
perfect. It's perfect for a inexpensive electric vehicle.
It's like, I still question, it's like, how did Oshkosh get this?
Oshkosh.
They won the bid to do this.
Oh.
It's like, it's
To
it's a military, military heavy truck.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's
Oh,
like
geez.
with,
I
very
don't know what
limited.
Oshkosh is. I thought that was a town in Wisconsin.
It is, but it's also a company.
Oh,
And
Well,
they
they
make,
I
also
thought they
make
made
overalls.
clothes.
no, they,
Yeah, clothes for
no, they
kids.
make like cement mixers, they make big stuff.
Okay,
Anyway.
so in terms of, for us, municipal, there will be, I guess what they call direct pay credits for charging and commercial vehicles. And this you may know something about, Kim, I don't know, there's something about, this thing with, this presentation today will be on YouTube, so I'll send you the link when I get that. They're encouraging solar and charging to happen. And there's a more, and there's like a 30% credit or 30% something for doing that, the solar and the charging.
Yep.
And there's more resources available for rural communities. And
Good,
then that raised the question about defining a rural community, and apparently.
we are, and builders.
But it has to be fleshed out,
Yeah,
because
okay.
apparently
We
there are
don't know the
different.
details, yeah. What, I just missed,
Definitions,
who's putting on these webinars? NHEC?
Community,
No.
Clean
CPC?
Energy New Hampshire.
Oh, CPCNH is
No.
putting on webinars. Oh, Clean Energy, CENH.
Yes. I know
I'll
you're
leave
so
it to you to put in the.
I will
what
do
stands
that.
for. Okay.
Oh yeah, rural communities guidance is not defined yet. Oh, apparently the IRS page does have listing of what vehicles qualify.
Okay,
Okay,
cool.
Um,
I gotta buy mine before I get any sort of real income raise for me. Looking for revision.
so this was pretty amazing. I was
Yay,
very pleased.
yeah, that's great.
Because I didn't quite know what the story was. I had gotten some kind of an overview from a different organization. Yeah, it says tax credits covering 30% of the cost of community solar projects. Anyway, solar is gonna be
The
covered
next
next
one,
month.
yeah, let's, as a matter of fact, tell me again when that one is. I can
October
put it right
20th.
in. Okay, October 20th, and this is, how do you go to CENH's website probably and sign up, register?
Yeah. Right, and it's, today's was at noon time. And it's just an hour.
So I have a couple things on electric vehicles, if it's the time.
It is perfect.
Okay, Kim,
Yeah,
to address an earlier question you had. I am going with the EV charging stations in my home for this tax year. So I'll have that in place.
you're gonna have the chargers before you have the car.
Yeah, I'm having the egg before the chicken.
Okay,
Right?
whatever works for you.
One's no good without the other, right?
Well, you can charge a car with 120 volts plugged into the wall if you
You
want.
can, but it's, you know, it's gonna
Depends on how far you're gonna go.
exactly. No, that, you know, A, to take the tax credit, and B, to get it into the house, get ready to go.
Got it.
Then I'll be able to convince my wife yet again that, hey, you need to
You're
get rid of that pilot and get a bottle of wine.
You need to just get this thing electrified. This is the right thing, your little Ford,
Well, I've actually looked into that because
it used to be electrified. They had,
they had it
yeah,
electrified, but right now my header pipe is gone.
I don't even know what that is.
Well, the exhaust pipe.
Oh, okay.
And
I don't have one of those.
it only costs $500 because it's got two catalytic
The
converters.
sooner you get rid of that car, the sooner you stop paying all that maintenance.
And
Just saying.
I can get a Nissan Leaf
Yeah,
drivetrain for about $1,000.
you're gonna try and retrofit it yourself?
Well, I might be beyond that, but
Yeah,
anyway,
Okay.
it
Well, it would
would,
be fun. It'd be a
anyway,
good project.
moving along.
Well, backing up to what you said, you can get a tax credit for getting a charger.
Yeah, 30%.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
And how do you get that one? That's the same thing.
That's a
you have to
tax credit.
Apply on your.
yeah, it's one of the energy credits.
If it's one of the energy credits, the concern, well, we have to do an energy efficiency webinar with CENH because that one's really confusing too. There's some limits and maximums and stuff. And so if you get an EV charger and you try to do some energy efficiency in your house,
Right,
you'll run up against a maximum.
that's the reason for doing the EV chargers this
1
year.
year, actually good.
And then
One.
then I'll do either heat pump or solar next year.
Yeah, and spread it out over. a couple
Well, I
of
have to, I mean,
most people would.
Yeah.
I have to spread it out anyway.
so anyway,
Good,
Uh,
okay.
and again, there's a blurb in the, it must have been the CIP, that they, with probably ERPA money, they want to buy a new ambulance.
We do? We
Yeah.
want to buy a new ambulance?
Well, it's in the CIP, and because we're getting ARPA or ERPA money, whatever it is, there was a line item for, $200,000+ for a new ambulance.
Wow,
And it's like, I'm gonna keep saying it,
Yeah.
that we should not be buying any more diesel
right.
vehicles, and yes, the electric vehicle is gonna cost more, but
Let's look at it.
I think we need to just put a mark in the sand and say, yeah, we're gonna go for an electric vehicle. They
And
make
so, yeah. And just so you know, there was a good discussion and just the start of the discussion about where all the EV chargers are gonna go
Right.
with the fire safety building, and Chief Holland is very much on board with his next vehicle is going to be electric.
Well,
He does want a hybrid too.
and my concern is he's limiting his search to Ford Mach-E and
Yeah,
Ford
but that's not,
Lightning.
we can't micromanage this
I'm not trying to micromanage it. All I'm trying to say is
Yeah,
the Ford Mach-E is not ready for prime time.
okay,
The technology's not there. It failed the handling test in the Michigan State Police deal, where they test all the cars. It failed what they call the moose test. It's basically a high-speed swerve. And
Okay.
it failed it because computers.
well, hopefully they'll fix it, but
Well,
anyway,
I mean,
it's a while before they,
and the
Yeah.
Tesla has not been looked at because, oh my God, they don't make a cage for it. Well, yeah, but
Yeah.
now they make a cage for it.
yeah, okay,
So anyway,
Yeah.
and let's see, where was it? So the ambulance, and the third thing is, it's sort of related. I was contacted I had stopped at the tech center in Weyerburg Friday. I left my business card in Dartmouth. And they have a grant for EV education.
at the tech center.
And so they contacted me today if they want to come up and look at our electric race car. And I told them, it's like, hey, so I gave them some information on curriculum. So I might be
Good.
involved with that.
Good.
I don't know.
Cool. Well, speaking of electric vehicles, I participated in the New London
Oh, you did that
EV
too?
Expo.
Oh, good for you.
Good.
Did you get to see a Lightning 150?
I did see the
And,
Lightning
whatever else.
150. You almost need a couple of steps to get
A
up.
ladder
on
to
it.
get into
It's
it?
like, and I'm tall.
And how about the Rivian? Was that there
I
too?
did. I
Was
got
it
to see the
similar?
Rivian.
Did you have a high?
I didn't go into it, but the Rivian is pretty amazing in that it's got,
The cross box is one.
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, so
And
that you could put skis or golf clubs or whatever in there. It was
It's got air ride, so it can drop down, so you can actually get in it.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
That would be fun.
Again, some of the domestic manufacturers just aren't ready yet. And
Well,
it's sad.
the thing was, it was fun and it brought more questions to the forefront. And there was somebody there who had a Chevy Bolt, who I went over and asked questions of and got great answers. And so I
Wait,
would,
didn't know what you had? What did you have? Oh,
Oh,
you did,
you
had a Bolt.
I did have a Bolt, but there's
This is
sometimes,
the SUV Bolt?
the
No.
EUV.
no,
No.
no, my point was he was knowledgeable and willing to share.
Good,
And so when I had questions, I went over to him.
good.
And there were a lot of people and it was a very interesting kind of thing.
It is nice that most EV owners are totally hooked.
And want to share
I mean,
their knowledge or their info.
John Essler lives out on Crystal Lake, and he came out to my house 2 weeks ago. Brought his Model 3 out.
Hmm.
And we took it for a drive, or he let me take it for a drive around
Nice.
Enfield. And, I'd driven a Model 3 before, but I really hadn't noticed or concentrated so much on the one pedal driving.
I love the one pedal. I do it all the time.
Oh, it
I
was
love it.
amazing. It's like, I probably drove, I don't know, 15 miles.
Wow.
And I think I hit the brake once,
Right, I never hit the brake.
maybe twice.
My brakes are actually, they were rusted and
Yeah.
unused.
Right, that is
I did have to get them,
Well, there's,
cleaned, but
there's a-
that's it.
there's a Tesla delivery driver. He drives a Model 3. He's got over 300,000 miles on it. on the original brakes.
Yeah, yeah, you don't have to use
300,000
them,
miles.
right?
And that's why I'm saying, it's like, it makes so much sense for police cruiser.
You know, we get it, Gary. You
you're-
don't
we're-
have
you're
to.
I know I don't have to convince you guys.
But let me ask you this question, since you saw a couple of vehicles, did you see some like four-wheel, all-wheel drive ones? Is anybody talking about that?
I've got an all-wheel drive.
It's not a EV.
Well, it's a plug-in.
Yeah, that's good. But I'm talking about an all-electric vehicle. It's
Well, I mean,
good, it's good, because there weren't many of those yet.
We tested
No,
for all-wheel drive.
EUV, it's that Bolt EUV, the Chevy EUV. What is Tesla?
Tesla's all-wheel drive.
Yeah, I don't want a Tesla, sorry.
Well, I mean,
Yes.
that's a personal thing. But
Yeah,
most
you're
of them,
right, it's a personal thing.
But there's,
Like the trucks?
the VW had.
ID4,
What?
it's an ID4.
Yes,
Yeah.
WID4,
yeah,
does that one have multiple wheel drive?
I think so. I'm not positive. She
I
was.
mean, most of the ones that are two-wheel drive are literally conversions. In other words, like the Hyundais.
Yep.
Where they just, threw an electric motor up front. It's not necessarily a conversion, but it's a conversion of a existing model to a,
Well, the good news is, though, it sounds like there's quite a bit to choose from these days, and that's great.
But what became clear to me, there were questions that, about chargers.
Ah,
And I expected that there would be some handouts, and there were no handouts available at all. So that's something that could be a newsletter thing too.
I mean,
Um,
to me, that's, I mean, I know Kim doesn't want to hear this, but I mean, that's the advantage Tesla has, is they have their own charging
yep,
system.
it is a big advantage.
And Ford has just figured that out.
Well, I heard that somebody, maybe the government, is trying to convince Tesla to open up their charging.
Tesla has
Well,
already done that in Europe,
Yeah, so maybe.
and they're
that's what I was going to say if I had a
think
chance.
they're very close to it in the United States.
So there were a lot of people. There were a lot of EVs there, I should say.
Mm.
The other thing with Tesla's charging stations is they've got the price down to 1/5 of what everybody else is paying.
Okay,
Hmm.
so anything else on EVs?
Just gotta have more of them, that's all.
Okay, fine. Moving on. Clean Energy
More.
Conference, Local Energy Solutions. They
How are we
have.
doing? Oh my gosh, it's late, sorry,
Yeah,
I was
know, well,
supposed to
let's
leave at
keep
7.
talking.
Okay.
We have 2 free memberships because we're a municipality and we have membership. So, excuse me, I'm going, but I don't know if anybody else wants to go.
I'm going on the speaker.
Okay, fine.
I am on a panel about community power. I'm on Henry's panel.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and we think we're gonna have the guy from Ascend with
Good.
us to talk about buying power on the wholesale market.
Okay, what should I do about this other free? I'll mention it to Marcia, but I don't know.
You
Maybe
could
to
put it on
try.
the listserv. See
Yeah.
if anybody says, hey, I'd really like to go, and like you said, that's great, it's free. We would sponsor anyone in Enfield who wants to go.
Actually, that's a good,
Yeah.
good opportunity.
Yeah,
Ha
yep, get somebody to fess up, and then we say, now you owe us at least one meeting. for the energy committee."
Okay,
October
Um,
14th, let me make sure I get that in, although you can put that in if I don't. get that in.
the other thing was window dressers, and that was that, I mean, I'm kind of annoyed that we were told it's too late for this year. And now Hanover's doing it, Heartland and Hartford are doing it.
Did they set it
Um,
up a long time ago? Is that?
I don't
impression
know,
yet? Mm.
but I do know that the expectation, where am I? The expectation was that you participated before,
Mhm, you had
that you
your own.
volunteer before you do your own. And I had a whole bunch of dates. Here we are. Come on, Jojo, you've got it. So Hanover's looking, there we go. Hanover's looking for volunteers. They're doing it October 13th through the 19th.
How do they do it that many days?
Well, the thing is that you sign up for like a shift, a 3 to 4 hour shift, and it's like a barn raising. So that's how it's.
Okay, what
always
are the
gonna
dates between November, October, what did you say?
October 13th through the 19th,
19th.
and that's Hanover and Norwich are organizing that.
This might also be something we could put on our listserv.
True.
Mhm.
If any, yeah, for volunteers.
Yeah, see if we can find, again, maybe we might not hear about it directly, but then we could go back to those guys and say, did you get any
Well, we
volunteers
could
from that deal?
Well, we could also say that in order for us to do it, we need to
To volunteer.
participate.
Yeah, that's good to say that. I think those are two good listserv things.
Oh,
Too much, I know.
okay, so what was the other one?
I put it on, this might be good for the newsletter. That
Oh,
would
the
be-
conference.
Yeah, oh yeah, the conference.
Conference and window dresses, okay. And then Heartland is doing it November 3rd through the 10th. Okay, and then there is a, Plainfield Cornish is putting on a introduction to electric vehicle chargers. And
Oh,
it's gonna be
oh.
on Zoom, and it's October 27th. So that's something else for the listener. But I can wait on that
That'll
one.
be an exciting Zoom call.
Well, actually, I think it is.
It's more interesting than you thought it would be,
Yeah.
like, yeah, I think.
I mean, people don't know.
Oh, I know,
I mean, when I bought my car, I had no clue that I had fast charge capability.
Yeah.
And I did. And I was like, oh, well, that's
How do I
lucky.
use it, right.
Now, did you notice that Tesla doubled the size of the charging station down at Price Chopper?
Yes,
I need to make a motion that we,
Yes.
what's the word?
adjourn.
During the meeting, yes, thank you.
Seconded.
Can we say good night?
I